आरबीआई का बैंकिंग ओम्बुड्समैन। आरबीआई कहता है अगर बैंक आपकी कंप्लेंट को 1 महीने में नहीं सुलझाता तो आरबीआई के बैंकिंग ओम्बुड्समैन में कंप्लेंट करो। यह आरबीआई का आसान तरीका है आपकी कंप्लेंट सुलझाने का, और वो भी फ्री।
समझे?
आरबीआई कहता है जानकार बनिए, सतर्क रहिए।
और कहानी में कहीं ना कहीं एक घर होता है। यह होती है आपके रिश्तों की और आपके परिवार की। यह आपकी कहानियों का घर है। अपने रिश्तों को और सुंदर बनने का मौका दें। आपके और आपके परिवार की खुशहाली के लिए LIC हाउसिंग फाइनेंस दरख्वास्त करता है। घर में रहिए, सुरक्षित रहिए।
Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. It's good to have you again with us. Now, you're watching a special broadcast here on DD India. We're calling it #Tracking COVID-19. Remember, DD India is your one-stop destination for all information related to COVID-19. And it goes without saying, we at DD India are taking particular care to give you, the viewer, accurate, authentic and authoritative information so that you don't fall prey to rumors or fake news. Now, trust me, wherever in the world you might be, it is in your interest to follow advisories, protocols, or guidelines issued by the authorities concerned. So stay at home, maintain social distancing, use masks and gloves, and wash your hands regularly with soap. All right, then let's get started. First up, COVID-19 updates from India and around the world. Right, so we'll get you the data from India and the world. We'll have on your screen just now the graphics which says 2650 active COVID cases are in India and 68 deaths have been reported in the country, and 183 persons have been cured and discharged from India over the last several days. Now, the total number of cases in Maharashtra are 423. The second highest number is 411 in Tamil Nadu. Delhi comes third at 386 cases and Kerala fourth at 295 cases. The maximum deaths, 19 in Maharashtra, 9 in Gujarat, and 7 persons have died in Telangana. Now to the world data. More than 1 million confirmed cases worldwide and 56,000 deaths across the world in 207 countries or territories, and 75,000 plus cases reported on one day, that's 3rd April alone. The World Health Organization says a maximum deaths of over 14,000 reported from Italy. The second highest number of deaths is from Spain at over 10,000. 6,500 deaths reported from France alone, and the US is at 4th place with over 5,000 deaths. The UK climbed to the 5th spot with more than 3,600 deaths. China comes 6th at more than 3,300 deaths and 3,200 deaths alone in Iran. Right, let's now get you news from India. We begin in New Delhi. As many as 108 doctors, nurses and paramedics at New Delhi's Gangaram Hospital have been put in quarantine after they came in contact with 2 patients who tested positive for COVID-19. 85 of them are in home quarantine and 23 in the hospital. Right, moving on, the Ministry of Home Affairs says states have been advised to brief district authorities and field agencies to avoid ambiguity at the ground level. Production, warehousing and transport of essential goods such as food, groceries, fruits, vegetables, dairy and milk products are included under exceptions to the guidelines. Taking the case of quote-unquote laboratories, the communication clarifies that they've been exempted from lockdown restrictions. This includes private testing laboratories for COVID-19. Queries have also been received as to what constitutes food and grocery. States and union territories have been advised to interpret the terms to mean all items of food and grocery that are usually consumed on a daily basis. Operations at railways, airports and seaports for cargo movement, relief and evacuation are also exempted from the restrictions. interstate and intra-state movement of trucks and other vehicles with one driver and one additional person is allowed as long as the driver holds a valid license. Now, all movement of persons with a pass shall be subject to strict adherence to hygiene and social distancing norms. And the Ministry of Home Affairs has issued a fourth addendum to the guidelines to exempt shops dealing in agriculture machinery, spare parts, truck repair shops on highways, tea industry including plantation with a maximum of 50% workers. And in more news, Home Ministry has approved the release of more than 11,000 crore rupees or $1.4 billion under the State Disaster Risk Management Fund to all the states. Home Minister Amit Shah said the fund can be used for setting up quarantine facilities, sample collection and screening, setting up additional testing laboratories, purchase of personal protection equipment for healthcare, municipal, police and fire authorities, or the purchase of thermal scanners, ventilators, air purifiers and consumables for government hospitals. The federal government is sensitive to the need for providing food and shelter to the homeless, including migrant labor stranded due to lockdown. Accordingly, on 28th March, it allowed provincial governments to use State Disaster Response Fund for this purpose as well. Now take a look at what else is making news in India. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan visited a dedicated COVID-19 facility at Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Narayan Hospital in New Delhi. There are 1,500 beds in the hospital. About 300 COVID-19 positive or suspected cases are admitted at this hospital. Right, police in the northern Indian state of Punjab uses drones for surveillance. The drones have been deployed in 34 locations across 10 districts of the state. The police uses it to crack down on black marketeers and hoarders of essential commodities. The Health Ministry has urged people to use the Arogya Setu app. It's a tool for tracking corona patients. Now, the app, prepared by National Informatics Center in collaboration with the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, supports 11 Indian languages. It uses a smartphone's GPS and Bluetooth to track infective cases. The app aims to inform people about best practices and latest advisories pertaining to the COVID-19 outbreak. On 3rd April, Prime Minister Modi spoke to his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu. The two discussed about collaboration between India and Israel in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, including by improving availability of pharmaceutical supplies. Prime Minister Modi shared the information on Twitter. He said, and I quote here, "Had a telephone conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu. We spoke about the situation arising due to COVID-19 and ways to fight the pandemic," unquote. The two leaders agreed to maintain a channel of communication to explore synergies besides improving availability of pharmaceutical supplies and innovative use of technology. They've been in touch ever since the coronavirus crisis started. For his part, Netanyahu agreed with Modi that the COVID-19 pandemic is an important turning point in modern history and offers an opportunity to forge a new vision of globalization focused on the shared interests of humanity as a whole. Time now for the Ground Zero segment, in which we get you reports from our correspondents. Now, my colleague Vishal Barrister reports about the situation in the state of Rajasthan. Take a look.
The number of positives in Rajasthan has crossed the 100 mark. As you can see, police are still trying very hard to tell people to stay indoors and adhere to the norms of the lockdown. This road takes us straight to the walled city. Wall City, which has been sealed because of obvious reasons. Another main concern for the administration is the attendees of the Tablighi Jamaat in Delhi. The numbers continue to rise, and yesterday experts from the World Health Organization visited people and administrative officers in talk. With cameraman Anugrah, this is Vishal Baristo, DD India.
Now, tracking COVID-19 is not all about gloom and doom. There's good news too, as the next segment tells you. They say necessity is the mother of invention, but I say necessity is the mother of innovation too. In India, railway coaches are being converted into isolation or quarantine wards. For instance, Central Railways, which is one of the several railway zones in India, has started converting coaches into isolation or quarantine wards. Nearly 500 such coaches are in the works. In Mumbai area, this work will be done by Matunga and Parel workshops and also at Wadi Bandar and other depots. And there's more good news. An Indian Muslim couple tied the knot over video conference on 3rd April amid the countrywide lockdown. The wedding date was fixed. Guests were invited, but the lockdown stalled the wedding plans. But the couple and their families performed the ceremonies on video call, setting an example for others to emulate. Right, now take a look at international news in the World Wrap segment. Right, to take a look at what else is making news around the world. Now, global cases of the novel coronavirus have shot past the 1 million mark. More than 50,000 people have died so far. Italy saw more evidence that it might have made it through the worst of the coronavirus pandemic as the daily rise of officially registered infections dropped to a new low of just 4%. The number of people who have been declared fully recovered has soared by 17.3% to nearly 20,000 over the past 48 hours. Now, the Russian military carried out sanitation and disinfection procedures in 3 senior care centers in Italy. Epidemiologists formulated a list of recommendations for management and medical staff of the centers on how to maintain proper anti-epidemic control practices and prevent the infection from spreading. U.S. President Donald Trump expanded the role of the U.S. Army in a fight against deadly coronavirus after the country registered a new global record of nearly 2,000 deaths in just 24 hours. He likens the situation to a war. Trump says the country is at war with an invisible enemy. The White House Task Force on Coronavirus expects the deadly disease to peak in the next 10 days. Trump also says the 2020 U.S. presidential election will go ahead as planned. The election will take place on 3rd of November this year.
The general election will happen on November 3rd. A lot of people cheat with mail-in voting. I think people should vote with ID, voter ID. I think voter ID is very important. And the reason they don't want voter ID is because they intend to cheat.
And in more news from the U.S., New York Mayor Bill de Blasio issued an advisory urging residents to wear face coverings when outside to prevent the spread of coronavirus. He emphasized, though, that surgical masks and N95 respirators should only be worn by the first responders. Nearly 2,000 people have been killed by the virus in New York City. And talking about New York, the city's emergency management released drone footage of the Jacob J. Javits Convention Center, a venue used by New York Comic-Con and the New York International Auto Show, as a makeshift hospital. The U.S. military and federal personnel will operate the hospital to help the city grapple with a flood of COVID-19 patients. Meanwhile, people in the Chinese city of Wuhan mourn the thousands who have lost their lives to the outbreak, stopping in their tracks while horns blast through the city. The mourning coincided with the start of the annual Qingming Tomb Sweeping Festival, when millions of Chinese families pay respects to ancestors. In Wuhan, the capital of Hubei province and the epicenter of the outbreak, traffic lights in urban areas turned red for a while and all road traffic stopped for 3 minutes. Cars, trains and ships sounded their horns and air raid sirens wailed, while pedestrians stopped walking and many bowed their heads in a solemn moment of silence. The number of people who have died from the COVID-19 illness in France has spiked. It touched a new high of 588 in a day after data from nursing homes were included. Confirmed cases jumped by 44% too. It makes France the 4th country to report more cases than China. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez visited a company building respirators to help with the fight against coronavirus in the country. Spain's coronavirus death toll crossed the 10,000 mark, second only to Italy. And in the United Kingdom, Prince Charles opened a new hospital in London to provide thousands of extra beds for patients suffering the coronavirus. Built in just 9 days, the Nightingale Hospital, which will initially provide up to 500 beds equipped with ventilators and oxygen, will eventually be able to treat about 4,000 patients. Another such temporary hospital will be built at Glasgow in Scotland. The managing director of International Monetary Fund says the IMF has a $1 trillion war chest set aside to protect the economy from the effects of the coronavirus. Speaking at a World Health Organization briefing in Geneva, IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva said that vulnerable economies were most at risk in the crisis and urged countries to prioritize health spending as a means to protecting their economies. She emphasized the risk of bankruptcies and layoffs, which could follow the initial wave of the crisis if not managed correctly, and which would make economic recovery even harder. The spread of COVID-19 has already had significant economic impact, ending the United States' record job growth and causing stocks to fall across the world as economies grind to a halt. And finally, a request of those of you who plan to burn a candle or light a lamp or torch at 9 p.m. India time on 5th April must ensure that your hands are free of alcohol-based sanitizers. Now, alcohol is inflammable and it could burn your hands. Remember, better safe than sorry. That's a wrap on this special broadcast, but news continues here on DD India. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Stay home, stay safe, and please don't forget to wash your hands every few hours. I want to leave you with a music video shared by Telugu film stars Chiranjeevi, Nagarjuna, Varun Tej, and Sai Dharam Tej. Take a listen.
Let's live healthier.
हमारा यही कहना है, हेल्दी खाना खाएं, अच्छे से पकाकर खाएं, हाइजीन का ध्यान रखें, जहाँ भी खाना पक रहा है या जो भी खाना बना रहा है वो हाइजीन का इंश्योर करें। और जैसे कि हम बात कर रहे हैं कि जो कफ हाइजीन और बाकी चीज़ें वो खाना बनाते समय भी हमें ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा। अगर खाना बना रहे हैं, खाना टच कर रहे हैं तो इंश्योर करना है कि हमारे हाथ साफ हो। कोई भी खाना खाइए, अच्छे से पका के खाइए, अच्छे से धो के खाइए, तो ये बीमारी आपको उस तरह से नहीं फैलेगी।
रविवार को हमारे साथ स्टूडियो में होंगे विशेषज्ञ जो बात करेंगे कोरोना वायरस से बचाव के बारे में। इस विषय से जुड़े सवाल आप पूछ सकते हैं हमारे टोल फ्री नंबर 1800111234 पर। साथ ही आप अपने प्रश्न कार्यक्रम के दौरान ईमेल कर सकते हैं totalhealth@ddnews@gmail.com पर। तो देखिए रविवार 5 अप्रैल सुबह 8:30 बजे टोटल हेल्थ सिर्फ डीडी न्यूज पर।
इनमें से एक है आपका डिटर्जेंट और एक फेना। अब आप बताइए कौन सा बेहतर है? ये है ज्यादा सफेद फेना।
ब्लाइंड वॉशिंग टेस्ट में 100 में से 70 लोगों ने फेना सुपर वॉश को अपने डिटर्जेंट से बेहतर पाया है।
अब आप भी लीजिए फेना सफेदी चैलेंज और खुद कहना फेना ही लेना।
हर घर की एक कहानी होती है और कहानी में कहीं ना कहीं एक घर होता है। ये होती है आपकी, आपके रिश्तों की और आपके परिवार की। ये आपकी कहानियों का घर है। अपने रिश्तों को और सुंदर बनने का मौका दें। आपके और आपके परिवार की खुशहाली के लिए LIC हाउसिंग फाइनेंस दरख्वास्त करता है। घर में रहिए, सुरक्षित रहिए।
दुनिया में कई काम बड़े मुश्किल हैं, जैसे कि चंद मिनटों में चांद पर पहुंचना, टूथपेस्ट में पेस्ट को वापस डालना। और भैया एक काम है जो है बेहद आसान। अरे भाई वही आधार कार्ड में अपना एड्रेस अपडेट करना। इसके लिए बस आपको UIDAI की वेबसाइट पे जाना है, अपना आधार नंबर डालकर OTP जनरेट करना है, फिर फॉर्म में OTP डालकर अपडेट एड्रेस कर कंफर्म करना है और लो हो गया आपका आधार में एड्रेस अपडेट। आप भी आधार अपना लो, फायदे में रहोगे।
मैडम उमंग सर बुला रहे हैं।
उमंग सर की सुबह में कुछ ज्यादा ही उमंग आ गया है।
क्या जोक चल रहा है?
कुछ नहीं, बॉस ने क्या कहा?
इतना बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट दे दिया है।
तुम तो फेल नहीं हो सकती।
ऐसी अपनी मुस्कुराहट दिखा देना, बहुत आगे जाओगी।
एकदम सही कहा नितिन, बहुत आगे जाएगी अंकिता। इसलिए नहीं कि लड़की है, इसलिए क्योंकि इसने एक्स्ट्रा टाइम देके अपना काम पूरा किया।
सोच बदलो, समाज बदलेगा। नजर बदलो, नजरिया बदलेगा।
पक्की होगी बुनियादें तो हंसे हिंदुस्तान होगा। पहले करो शुरुआत करो, करो तो पक्की बात करो। पहले करो शुरुआत करो, करो तो पक्की।
वंडर सीमेंट, एक परफेक्ट शुरुआत।
We shouldn't mistake this lockdown for a holiday. The least we can do to honor these brave doctors, nurses, and others fighting this war is to follow their instructions. Save yourself, the community, our country, and the whole world from this virus.
सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग को तुम अपनाओ, कोविड-19 से जान न गवाओ।
If you're stepping out to buy grocery, make sure that you're at least at a 6 feet distance from each other. Do not touch your face. Come back, wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Sanitize everything that you've touched. If you're a righty, use your left hand to open all the doors and turn knobs. Stay positive, stay fit, stay at home.
इस कठिन वक्त पर मैं तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगा हमारे हेल्थ ऑफिशियल्स का, सारे डॉक्टर्स का, नर्सेस का, पुलिस फोर्स का और सारे कर्मचारियों का जो अपनी जान की परवाह ना करते हुए दूसरों की जान बचा रहे हैं। आप सभी लोग उनका सहयोग दें, हमारी सरकार का सहयोग दें और प्लीज अपने घर पर रहें।